sin study on the book of Ruth. It was great to hear about Ruth chapter 1, and it's kind of a messy chapter, isn't it? A chapter where people are in famine, and so they leave and go to a foreign country, and there the men die, and Naomi, the wife, is left with two daughter-in-laws, and they have to decide what to do, and one daughter-in-law will not leave her, but comes back with her. And now in chapter 2, we see that they are back in Bethlehem. But what will they do? How will they provide for themselves? How will they live? In this chapter, we are going to dive into 3 provisions. 3 people that are providing for someone else. The first one is Ruth. Ruth wakes up and says, we need food. And I can provide that. I can go glean in the field. There is a law that says that those who are harvesting should leave some on the edges for the foreigners and for the widows. Some that even get dropped behind. They said, don't go pick them up. Let other people pick it up so that they have food to eat, those who are unable to provide for themselves. So Ruth goes out, and she happens to pick a field of a guy named Boaz. So as Ruth is trying to provide for Naomi and her, she connects with Boaz. Boaz is a godly man. We see this in his interaction with the leaders in his field. He meets them and says, the Lord be with you. And they respond, may the Lord bless you. Boaz and his workers have an amazing relationship, and is centered around God. And then he notices Ruth, and he said, who is that? So his workers say, oh, that's the Moabitess, the foreigner that came with Naomi. She came here and asked if she could glean, and we said, yes. She's been working all day. She's a hard worker. She is doing whatever she can to provide for her and her mother-in-law. So Boaz, the second provider in this passage, goes to Ruth and says, do not go to any other field. In this field, I will provide you with safety. No one will harm you. No one will attack you. You don't have to look over your back to see if anybody's coming to injure you. He also provides her with water. He says, you see where those guys are drinking? If ever you're thirsty, go and grab a drink. I want to provide for you. He continues on, and he even provides for her food. At mealtime, it said in verse 14, Boaz says, come here and eat some bread and dip your morsel in the wine. So she sat beside the reapers, and he passed to her roasted grain, and she ate until she was satisfied, and she had some left over. Even at mealtime, Boaz provided not just water, not just grain to take home, but food to eat in the moment. Boaz is a provider for Ruth and Naomi. And I'm guessing he knows that he is the one that is supposed to provide. Because as we look throughout the passage, we see that there's hints of a third provider. When Ruth goes home at the end of the night, she tells Naomi everything. What field she went to, what the person said, even the name of Boaz. And as soon as she mentions Boaz, Naomi has a light bulb moment. Naomi knows that Boaz is a kinsman, someone close in the family, and could possibly be a kinsman redeemer. Could this be a way that God is providing for the family? Did he set it up for them to meet together so that they could be redeemed? Boaz even mentions this as well. He says in verse 12, "The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward given to you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Boaz is saying God is the only one that can truly provide for you. I will do my best to provide physically for you, but it is God who can provide all things. And so he is mentioning how God can provide exactly what they need. And Ruth and Naomi need to be redeemed in this culture. They need someone that will marry Ruth and take on the name of the family and the property and use it for good. And so here we get the start of a picture of God providing for Naomi, providing for Ruth, and he is doing this through a provider named Boaz. So we look back at the story, and I wonder, where have you seen God provide? Where have you seen God provide for you, for your family? Who has God used to provide things for you? We know that God himself is a provider, and he provided for us salvation through Jesus Christ. This is good news that we want to live each and every day in and tell everybody we know, we have one who has provided salvation. Go and find him. He is right here, Jesus, the Messiah. And so as you think about Boaz and Ruth and Naomi and the provision that is made, Ruth to get food for her and Naomi, Boaz who provides safety, protection, nourishment for Ruth, and God who is providing a way forward for everyone. Provided a way forward for Ruth and Boaz, and is providing a way forward for each and every one of us through Jesus Christ. May we experience his provision and live a life 100% committed to him, ready to serve him and share that provision with everyone else, just like Ruth provided the provision she received to Naomi. May you go this week seeing God's provision each and every day.